How's it going, friends and family? Brian Cusco here at Triple B. Snake scales are very important. They help to protect them, help them move, and my favorite part, provide a rainbow of colors for us to enjoy. Today we're going to be talking about all the different types of scales there are and what they're called. You're watching Triple B TV. First off, for any of you that caught last week's episode, I just wanted to apologize for the lack of video quality. I noticed it was a little bit shaky and I was just using my cell phone, but hopefully the awesome family made up for it. And one of those awesome family members got me sick. So I'm not gonna name any names, but thanks. Stick around for the end of this video because we're gonna be doing our contest so that you can win a prize. And you're gonna win one of these digital hygrometer thermometers and also one of these hides right here. So stick around and see how you can do that.
This week, we'd like to know, what is another name for a snake scale? A, spade, B, fin, C, scoot, or D, dermis? Leave your answer in a comment down below and check back at the end of the episode to see if you got it right.
Okay, a snake's skin is one continuous organ. This is apparent when it goes through ecdysis, or the shedding of its skin. Ideally, it all comes off in one solid piece. Now, a snake's scales are essentially folds in the skin covered by a substance called keratin, which is also the same substance that our fingernails are made out of. All right, let's get into what all these different scales are called. So we'll start with the top of the head because that's where the most different kinds of scales are, and we'll work from the front to the back. So the very middle scale on the front tip, just above where the tongue comes out, is the rostral scale. And the scales that are right around the nostrils, believe it or not, are called the nasal scales. And the scales that are right in between those nail scales are called internasals. And the scales directly behind the internasals are called prefrontal. And directly to the sides of those are the l'oreal. And now we're moving back to the scales that surround the snake's eye. The snake's eye cap is also part of its skin, as they don't have eyelids, and that is shed as well when they shed. And all around the eye cap, you have the supraocular on top, preocular in front of the eye towards the nose, the subocular, and the postocular. And directly behind the postocular scales, you have the temporal scales. And right in between the supraocular scales, you have the frontal scale. Now, the rest of the scales behind the frontal scale are the parietal scales. This can be one or two scales, or on some snakes can be many scales. It just depends on the species. Now, all the scales from there on back are called dorsal scales. These are all the scales running all the way down the back and sides of the snake. It's time for slow motion day. Now if we move to the bottom of the head, going front to back, first is the mental scale just below where the tongue comes out. Hold on the top part of the head I forgot to mention the upper labials, just lining the upper portion of the lip of the snake. Okay, now mental scale on the bottom, and surrounding the lower lip are the lower labials. Then in between those lower labials are the chin shields. And just behind those chin shields are gluteal scales, and these are all the small scales on the neck. Then directly behind those are the ventral scales. Now, in between the ventral and dorsal scales are the peraventral scales, which are the scales that connect the dorsal scales to the ventral scales. The ventral scales are possibly the most important scales on the snake, as they play the biggest role in helping them move. Now, these ventral scales run all the way down the snake until you hit the anal scale, which covers up the cloaca. And behind the anal scale, on the rest of the tail, you have the subcaudal scales. And that about sums it up. That's all the scales on the snake. Now, this is basic, and I'm not an expert, I'm not a biologist, I'm just a guy who likes snakes, but I have learned some facts about snakes over the years. And some things may vary between species, but that's a basic list of what all the different scales are called. All right, so contest time. Now, to win this contest, you need to be the first person to comment below with the species and morph of the snake at this timestamp in the video. Now, I've done a little looking into shipping internationally, and unfortunately at this time I don't think I'm going to be able to run a contest where I can ship prizes internationally. So that doesn't mean you can't play. I can only ship the prize within the United States. So if you happen to win and you're not in the United States, maybe you have a friend in the United States that you want to send your prize to, we could work out something like that. But either way, I'm very sorry that at this time I can only ship within the United States. Maybe in the future we'll get a little bigger and we'll be able to ship worldwide, but for now we gotta work with what we got. So that's where we're at.
We asked, what is another name for a snake scale? If you said you are absolutely correct. Give yourself a pat on the back.
Well, I hope you've enjoyed this episode. If you haven't already, please remember to subscribe, and we'll see you guys again next week. Take care.